Hey everybody, Pastor Brendan Whitten here, back again with you for another day of our 2020 Fast Forward. We are at day 14. So you're doing awesome. We're 2 weeks in. You're much closer to the finish than you are to the start. So be encouraged. I know it's hard on the flesh, but God is doing a lot in the spirit. So let's keep pushing forward together. As you know, our focus has really been on taking this time to seek God regarding destiny, purpose, and calling in our lives, and really hearing from Him. I felt like God said so strong. He said, just pull together, seek me, because I want to speak to every person who's going to be involved in a new, fresh, and unprecedented way about the destiny and purpose calling I have for them, not just in this year, but in this decade and beyond. We want to be people who have holy ambition, who have a heart for the purposes of God in our generation. And so for the last several videos, we've been focused on 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. Today I want to bridge a little bit into verse 8 and talk a little bit about what that speaks to us as well. So let's just read it really quickly. It says, I fought the good fight, I've finished the race, I've kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. Not only to me, but also those who have loved His appearing. So obviously we've talked about the importance of fighting the good fight. We're not fighting for victory, but from victory. We've talked about the importance of finishing the race. We've talked about the importance of keeping the faith. And so it's very interesting, because what I've noticed, and just kind of bridging to what Paul talks about in verse 8 here, is for many of us, we're talking about destiny, purpose, and calling. We've got a very keen awareness of how important that is in our life. I want to live out the purposes of God. If I disobey, there's things I may miss out on. There's things that, are not going to happen. And that's very important. That's an important part of it. But Paul expands this to something that I would suggest is even more important. Because in verse 8, he talks about this. He says, henceforth there's laid up for me a crown of righteousness. Now, what is this talking about? Well, this is talking about the biblical teaching and theology around the fact that there are heavenly rewards for people who give their lives for Jesus Christ. There are heavenly rewards that are stored up for people who obey and who give and who serve and who love and who sacrifice. And these are rewards that are very meaningful. It's not like some cheap little crown. We're talking about rewards that are honored in heaven and honored throughout eternity. And we get these rewards because we live for the Lord now. If you keep going on, he says there's a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who love me. I want you to focus on that phrase, that day. That phrase, that day, refers to the judgment seat of Christ. And the Bible teaches us there's actually two seats of judgment. There's the great white throne of judgment that is in the end of Revelation. That's for all people. But there's also a judgment seat of Christ that is for believers. And that is when you and I will stand before Jesus and we will give an account for how we lived our lives. We'll give an account for how we obeyed. We'll give an account for how we walked out the purposes and the callings that He had for us. We are judged there. And this is where we are going to receive our rewards. And what the Bible tells us is that every Christian who's committed their life to Jesus is going to get into heaven. Not every Christian is going to receive heavenly rewards, but it's me, those who obeyed, those who sacrificed, those who gave, and those who lived out their lives for His purposes in their generation. And so I really want to encourage you in this today as we're on this journey of purpose and calling and just what God has for us. It's not just about now. It is about now. Now is important, but it's not just about this life. It's literally about eternity. And so what we do for Him and the way we live out His purposes in our generation, the way we walk out the calling and we say yes to Him over and over and over again, it will actually echo for eternity. And I don't know about you, but when I stand before Jesus, I want to be someone who stands there and hears Him say, well done, good and faithful servant. I don't want Him to look at me and say, you know what? You took what I gave you and you used it for yourself. You used it for comfort instead of calling. And because of that, you will not have rewards for eternity. There will be those who will get into heaven, but the Bible says it'll just be barely. But there will be others who come in with great rewards because of how they live their life. I don't know about you, I want to walk in with great reward. I want to make sure that I am living my life the way I need to, that I'm walking out this destiny and purpose calling, and I really believe you do as well. So I take some time today and ask God just to give you a greater revelation of the fact that destiny, calling, and purpose, this holy, this living, this holy, kind of focus and this holy ambition is not just about now, but it's also about eternity. Amen? And that we will be ready together to stand before Jesus and hear Him say, well done, good and faithful servant. And so, we're going to be back again tomorrow. Let's keep pressing. Even in doing this fast, in doing this time of prayer, you are investing in eternal things. Your obedience to the Lord is building up these rewards for you and these rewards for me. Again, we do it because we love him. We don't do it for rewards, but the rewards are there. And we are going to be so thankful for all eternity that we did choose to live our lives for him now. Amen. See you tomorrow. Let's keep going and listen to God. He wants to speak to you today. Be ready for what he's going to say.